There's something that I saw recently, which I believe to be a thrilling announcement when it comes to Zebec, and that is the fact that they say that starting July 14th, Privy will be available in Zebec Enterprise, which is pretty impressive, and let me explain why I think so in today's video. But I first want to clarify, nothing I say is financial advice. I am not telling anyone to do anything, and this is just my personal perspective and opinion. Now, why does this matter? Well, it's because if we take a look at Privy, the idea of it even being available in Zebec Enterprise to begin with, and they're planning for that on July 14th, the reason why this is so massive is because Privy is allegedly a wallet infrastructure. So it's powering over 120 million accounts, supposedly, as of right now. And this is really massive. So again, if we take a look at the magnitude of something like this could really impact Zebec, especially in the long term. So when people like to say, well, who cares about Privy being available in Zebec Enterprise? Who really cares about that? Well, I think a lot of people do, and I think a lot of enterprises might care about that. Keep in mind, one of the benefits when it comes to this is that it's going to actually make it easier for businesses to onboard employees. So if we consider how the Zebec Enterprise, again, as the name goes, really focus on the enterprise market, this is directly helping the use case and also helping the fundamentals of the Zebec Enterprise. Some other projects out there, they're going to take this time to try to, partner up with a celebrity or an athlete. But Zebec, they're like, wait, hold up. We're not going to be doing that. What we are going to be doing is trying to improve our products, right? We're going to try to improve something like the Zebec Enterprise. So this is what I like about Zebec. It's the mentality that they have. They're not focused on short-term hype or attention. They're more so focused on actually improving the fundamentals and more so of this long-term approach, which I am a fan of, ultimately speaking. And case in point, take a look at it again, right? Privy on July 14th going to be available in the Zebec Enterprise. I find that so impressive at the end of the day. Having something as massive as Privy in the first place be available basically in the Zebec Enterprise, that's so legendary. I think sometimes people don't consider this. And keep in mind, this is July 14th. So it's not like we have to wait next year or, in 3 months, 4 months. No, this is so close. July 14th. It's not even that far away at this point. So these are the things that Zebec seems to be doing behind the scenes. Just as everyone thought, oh, they don't care anymore. Well, they still seem to care. And if we think about it, the Zebec Enterprise is literally geared towards enterprises, right, as the name goes, which is really going to open the doors when it comes to Zebec, because Zebec, we already know it has a very massive retail focus, especially through its cards, and also we take a look at its payrolls. That's more so focused on the enterprise side of things, but then now they're kind of adding more towards that through the Zebec Enterprise. We're talking about a project here, right, that when it comes to its cards, last month alone, the monthly volume was in the tens of millions of dollars. And then we take a look at the payroll side of things. That right there was also last month having figures of around tens of millions of dollars. And not to mention, they have over 200 payroll enterprise clients. I even mentioned this in my previous video. And then assuming all of that, we add on top of that as well, Zebec Enterprise, which hasn't even been around for that long. So there's really no way to evaluate it as of right now. But then seeing something like Privy allegedly going to be available on there on July 14th, that's pretty massive. So sometimes we don't really think about this. But then Zebec, they still seem to be cooking, it seems like, behind the scenes. Now, people like to say, but it doesn't really matter though, because if, let's say, no one really uses the Zebec Enterprise, who cares about this? But there's really no way to kind of fully evaluate that as of right now, just because the Zebec Enterprise hasn't been around for that long. So we can't really say, oh, this is bad or something like that, because we don't really know as of right now. Only time will tell. It's still up for debate whether it's good or bad. We have to still wait and see. And again, some people out there may kind of say that who cares about this? Enterprises won't care about a project that is like of this size. They think that if a project isn't so massive, enterprises won't really care about it. But that's where I disagree, because enterprises typically, they care more about the use case and how that specific project or partner could help their business, right? They're not caring about, what's the price action? Oh, what's going on when it comes to the 24-hour price charts? They don't really care about that type of stuff typically. What they usually care about, especially when it comes to something that could improve their business, they care about the fundamentals, the use case, and what that could do for their business moving forward. Hype and attention, that's not usually in the criteria of what they think about when they want to adopt something. That's the thing. So I think sometimes people think that because Zebec isn't popular, it's going to inhibit, it's going to limit its sort of enterprise adoption sort of potential. But I don't necessarily agree with that, just because enterprises typically care more so about the fundamentals and use case. And if we take a look at Zebec, focus on instant payrolls, keep in mind, right? So that concept alone, if it's good, if some enterprises do find it to be appealing, basically, the popularity, the hype, that's like something they don't really care about. So again, I don't think Zebec's lack of mainstream popularity is going to limit the Zebec enterprise. But also, let's think about this. Why does instant payrolls matter so much? And why could that be a big impact when it comes to Zebec? Well, it's because if we take a look at the payroll sort of market overall, usually we take a look at things that operate in kind of a slow way, in a sense where if we just take a look at, let's say me, for example, when I was working back in college, I worked in a buffet. My payroll was every 2 weeks. Now, that seemed pretty quick to me at the time, but if we take a look at instant payrolls, it's not waiting 2 weeks, it's not waiting a month, it's literally by the second. So imagine if I was working back in college at a buffet, and as I was doing my shift, literally by the second, the payroll was happening, I didn't have to wait 2 weeks. That could seem quite cool, I suppose. Now, it's going to be dependent on a case-by-case basis. Some people may like it, some people may not. But I think overall, at least the option does exist, right, when it comes to what Zebec is trying to do. It doesn't mean that every enterprise is going to care about it, but at least that option is there. That's my point of view. Now, Zebec, in the past 24 hours, not such a massive recovery at all. Actually, just around 0.5%. So people like to say, well, that means this announcement in regard to Privy starting July 14th, how that will be available on Zebec, or should I say in the Zebec enterprise, people like to say, well, that means it wasn't such a big deal. But I disagree with that. I think fundamentally it actually matters a lot. What I'm seeing as of right now when it comes to the price charts, it's more so affected by the broader change in market sentiment. But hey, you know what? I don't mind waiting. That's the thing. And if I take a look at it, Zebec, it's still well over 2 times lower than its peak last year in terms of market cap. So I'm not going to complain about that. I don't mind it if things are low. Basically, I don't mind the dip. However, even besides that, Zebec, the amount of holders still seems to be holding really strong at over 100,000. Pretty impressive at a time like right now. But nonetheless, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but just seeing how Privy is allegedly going to be available in the Zebec enterprise starting July 14th, I think that kind of showcases that Zebec, they're still doing things behind the scenes. So I find that very impressive. But yeah, I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward when it comes to Zebec. However, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very wonderful and amazing day. It's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.